Philistine Files, the Film Dude here. Thanks for joining me today. So I'm continuing on my revisits of particular films, and today I'll be looking at Spielberg's Saving Private Ryan. Now, it's been a long time since I've seen this film. I can't remember the last time I saw it. And it's a film that sometimes I put off watching because it's war, and war films these days tend to be a bit like the Western, they're going out of style. And there's only so much you can do with a war film and a story, ultimately. And with Spielberg coming out with his new film, Disclosure Day, I thought I'd revisit some of his movies. And this is definitely one I had, like I mentioned, hadn't seen in a long time, so I thought it was time to return to it. This is a really great film. Even though it has a lengthy runtime, you don't feel that because you get swept up in the story and the emotion and the characters, and you go on the journey with them. And I think that's a testament to the script, but also Spielberg's ability to tell a creative and interesting story that sucks an audience in. This isn't obviously his first foray into the war film, with previously doing Schindler's List, but Schindler's List is very different to this film. Schindler's List is a much more heavy, dramatic sort of piece that has the essence of hope, but isn't as doesn't have light-hearted moments, so to speak, because of the subject matter and the story it's telling. Where Saving Private Ryan does have sort of humorous moments, not moments that are comical or taking you out of the film, but it's more with the characters and what they're going through, the humour comes from that. With this viewing of the film, there's certain things that stick out for me and things I sort of took notice of. Whether I took notice of them before, I'm not sure, but I just took more notice this time around. And a lot of it has to do with the way the story's told, the characters involved, and a variety of things like that. This, to me, has one of the greatest war openings ever in a movie. There's troops storming the beach at Normandy on D-Day, and only the chaos and violence and death that unfolds in this sequence is quite extraordinary. It just captures it in such a great way. It puts us in there, you know, there's handycam work in it, and we're like part of that as those soldiers. We're on the beach with them. We're going through what they're going through. And that's a great testament to Spielberg and his ability to allow us to become part of the story rather than just observers. There's a really great moment in the beginning which I really love. After they've reached the beach, there's been an explosion. Tom Hanks's character is sort of a bit out of it, and it's just silence. And he's just sitting there taking in everything that's happened. All the explosions, people getting shot. There's a sequence where a guy loses his arm and picks it up and is walking around with it. And it just sort of captures the horror of war, but through the eyes of Tom Hanks's character. And it sort of has this great sort of moment where you're just experiencing it as he is. And he's deaf because of the explosion, but there is a little bit of sound in the background. And there's a moment where he's just like, I have to shake this off and do what I have to do, and he jumps straight into it. And that's the ability of the character throughout the movie, is his ability to shut off horrible things that are happening in order to do what he has to do. And this scene is mirrored later in the movie when we're on the bridge and there's another explosion and he's involved in it, and then the way he sees things from that particular perspective. It has some great performances in it, some sort of known actors and up and coming actors. Like Matt Damon wasn't really known at this stage, but another film that he did came out and it sort of didn't have the same. Spielberg ultimately wanted the James Ryan character to be played by a complete unknown, but it didn't kind of work out like that because Damon's star was rising. But this is definitely a great standout performance for him. One of Matt Damon's early roles in a big film that actually people stood up and took notice, and that helped as his other films came out. And he gives a great performance in it as this character that, even though he's lost so much and they want him to go home, he can't leave the family he's created with his other soldiers, and the protecting of the bridge, and how the other team that coming to find him, led by Tom Hanks's character, ultimately become part of that. And I like that aspect. There's a young Nathan Fillion in it, Vin Diesel, Giovanni Ribisi, Adam Goldberg, like there's a whole slew of really Edward Burns, and the great Barry Pepper. Barry Pepper is a great character actor who had sort of a great run in the 90s and early 2000s, and only has sort of dropped off. He's recently appeared in Bring Him to Me, this sort of a Australian made to sound like an American movie that he's in. He's solid in it. But he's an actor who really should have got much more play and much more praise than he actually did, because I think he's a brilliant actor. And in this film he plays a sniper, and he's really great. As the rest of the sort of cast, they're all well-drawn characters. You care for them. They all feel individual and unique. The reasoning for being in the war is all varied and different. There's even a running pool about who Tom Hanks's character is, what he did before the war. And when you find out what it is, it sort of doesn't take away from it. It just shows this character in such a... You see this character in a different light. At the essence, the movie really is a quest film disguised as a war movie. You've got Tom Hanks's character and Captain Miller, and his ragtag of sort of soldiers in his command, and they go on this journey, much like Frodo and Sam go, and the other hobbits go in Lord of the Rings, and any other sort of fantasy-based quest film. They all have that same element. They're setting off on a journey to either find something, to protect something, or whatever it may be. And that's exactly what this film is. You've got these group of soldiers who go on this journey. They have a mission. The sole mission is to find James Ryan, bring him back to his family, and let him know that his brothers have died. And that's part of something that's actually in the sort of war thing, where if there's a multitude or there's multiple family members who go into war and they all die, they have to bring back the sole survivor. And that's exactly what is the sort of driving force of these characters. And like most quest films, they go on a journey, they interact with interesting people, they find themselves in a variety of situations and circumstances, and they have to help people or do things along the way in order for their journey to continue. And I think that's the element I love the most. It is a quest movie. We go on a journey with the characters. Like I said, they're well drawn and well written. You care about them. You care what happens to them. And this sort of quest costs them things. And like most quest movies, there's always characters who are killed off or things that are lost on the journey. And this film is no exception. And that made me see the film in a different way, in a different, unique experience, seeing it like that. There's moments of humour in it which you don't expect. That creates a bit of levity. There's a camaraderie between all of them. Before the movie started, they went into a boot camp, and one of the actors in it trains actors to portray people in war, because he's been in war all of his life. And I thought, because of that training, you really felt for these characters. You see how smart Captain Miller is and the choices that he makes. And you see why the other characters start to lose faith and don't want to go on the journey anymore because of what they lose and experiences, the terrible experiences they have to endeavour, and the terrible experience they have to go through on their quest. They do a smart thing. There is one character that they have that is more of a correspondent type thing, works in an office type scenario, and they need him because he's an interpreter and he has to go on the journey with them, and he hasn't had that experience. So he only becomes the audience because we haven't experienced it. Well, I haven't, and a lot of other audience members wouldn't have experienced what the characters are going through. So he's our eyes into the world, and we get a much more sense of who the characters are through this. And that character is Corporal Upham, and is played by Jeremy Davies, who's a very unique but strange actor, and this is sort of one of his early roles, and I think he's quite good in it. I think besides Tom Hanks and all the other great actors in it, I think the real standout here is Tom Sizemore. He's so great. There's something about him in war films that really work. He's gruff, he's tough, he doesn't take prisoners, he's sort of like he just suits that world. This and Black Hawk Down, and he's much more comical in Black Hawk Down, but there's sort of his way of handling these sort of roles works really well. You believe he is this character. And him and Tom Hanks's character, Captain Miller, are very strong and bonded. He plays Mike Bath. It's just a really good array of characters in the film. There's other scenes that stick out besides the opening and ultimately the shootout and gunfight at the end on the bridge. Is a sequence where they're trying to find him. There's two sequences actually. One that's called it more comical, where they think they've found the James Ryan they're after, played by Nathan Fillion, and they start telling him the story, you know, of his brother's dying and he has to go home and all of that, and then it's sort of revealed that he isn't the right James. He's another one, and it's sort of comical because he's like, well, my brothers are in grade school, and it's just like, are they okay? Like, he doesn't kind of know what's going on, and it adds a little bit of humour because they have the wrong one. Another sequence is they end up at a place where he could have been. There's other soldiers there, and they're given like dog tags of soldiers that have perished, and they start going through them. Like it's a card game or something like that. Like they're playing cards where they sit down around this sort of makeshift table and they start going through it and talking about and joking a little bit and all that. Meanwhile, there's a whole heap of soldiers from that unit coming back from war who have all been hurt and affected by what they've been through, and you just see the looks on their faces where they just start throwing around these dog tags like at some sort of game. And it takes, then Giovanni Ribisi's character Wade sort of goes up to him and says, you can't do this type of thing. I thought that was really interesting. There's a desperation in what they're doing, and it feels like they're not taking it seriously, but it's just like they just want it to end. They've gone through so much already, they just want to find the guy, bring him home, and they're done. But of course, quest film, like every other quest or journey film, it doesn't go according to plan. And it costs them a lot to find him. There's just a really great humanity to it. There's just something that feels really real. And like I mentioned, Spielberg puts us right in there. We're part of this journey. We feel like we're there with them as they go through everything that's happening. And of course the ending's really great. The stand that they take on the bridge, what it costs them, and just how the Ryan character isn't willing to leave his men, and they have to sort of help him in order to get him home. But there's devastating consequences to it all. It's a type of film that you get immersed in. You can't take your eyes off the screen. And you really feel camaraderie between all of the characters and the actors in the film. That they really are this particular unit going on this mission to save one of their own. And just feeling at time, losing faith in it, just feeling at times it's a waste of time. They're never going to find him. It's all going to cost them their lives just to find this one guy. But Captain Miller really creates a perspective for them that helps them go through what they're going through. Because it's revealed before the war he was a teacher, and his unit look at him really strangely, but it's about the way he describes it, about the way the life he lived and who he is as a person, and how he finds himself in this situation, at war, being the captain and trying to navigate what's going on and trying to sort of keep his men in line. He even lets one sort of prisoner go that has devastating consequences, especially when you get to the end of the film when that character returns and ultimately kills a couple of the men. It's surprising to think that this film was nominated many times at the Oscars in this year, and it ultimately lost a lot of the awards. And it just feels strange that a film like this lost, because it's powerful, it's interesting, it's filled with colourful and unique characters, it's wonderfully directed, it's an immersive experience, and it really captures war. It was nominated for 11 Academy Awards. including cinematography, film editing, sound and sound effect editing, best picture, best director, and a variety of others. And it did win some. It won best cinematography, which it deserves, is beautifully shot. There is also this sequence that's in darkness, and the only source of light is flashing lightning, and we see the men walk through as it's flashing, and it gives us a unique look. But it's just, yeah, it really is beautifully shot and really puts you in there. And obviously won sound editing, sound effects, and also won film editing, sound and sound effects editing. But the film ultimately lost Best Picture, winning Best Picture, to Shakespeare in Love. Come on, like, look, I don't mind Shakespeare in Love, but Best Picture over Saving Private Ryan. And that's due to, you know, I don't like to mention his name, but Weinstein's involvement in pushing that film to win. And it's really tragic and sad. It did, because I just felt Saving Private Ryan was the film of the year and a much better film than Shakespeare in Love, and it should have really won. It also won Best Director for Spielberg, which is deserving because it's an extraordinary film. It just really should have won Best Picture as well. It's a film that's stood the test of time and one of the great films of the early 2000s, and it really encompassed and brought back the war film at the time. Because at that time there was been so many war films, it was kind of a dead genre, much like the Western. And this film really brought it back, and then we had a whole slew of war films after this movie. So that's a great testament to the film itself, as well as Spielberg's direction, and crafting such a fascinating and engaging film that really inspired so much more, much like a lot of what Spielberg used to do. And in many ways, I hope his new film is a return to form, as I feel he's lost his sort of filmmaking ability or his passion in the last few films he's delivered. But if you haven't seen the film, sorry for the spoilers, definitely check it out. If you have seen it but haven't seen it for a long time, definitely give it another go and return to it, because it's a wonderfully made film that really filled with such emotion that it had an emotional reaction to the film and the story it was telling that really affected me. And it is sentimental, like Spielberg's really good at, but it's sentimental in a good way, not over the top or sickening, and I like that aspect to it. So that's it. That's my review of Saving Private Ryan. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. If you haven't seen it in a while, revisit it. And if you like this video, hit subscribe down the bottom, follow me on Letterboxd and Facebook. Otherwise, until next time, enjoy the movies.